If you like movies, check out my movie review channel. Every single movie title you see on the screen, I have a video about coming out within the next 2 weeks. I'm uploading a video every day for 2 weeks, so definitely make sure you're subscribed there. The link is in the description below. I got some other stuff on there too, some like breakdowns of certain scenes I like and things like that, so check it out. All right, let's talk about your favorite quarterback and mine, Derek Carr, and how good is Derek Carr still today? Well, let's look at some numbers first before we get into the tape. So first, if we're going to look at just box score stats, passer rating, probably the best of the pure box score stats, I would say, to look at. A definite disappointing 2022, no doubt about it. Even 2021 wasn't his best year. He had posted, passer ratings of over 100 in 2019 and 2020, but for a career, is actually just at 91.8. But, again, part of that was a bad rookie year, kind of brings that down a little bit. But even with that taken into account, 2022, he was significantly lower, and the 24-14 touchdown to interception ratio is definitely not a great one. You want to keep that at least 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, and he was definitely not there. However, who cares, right? Box score stats, what do they mean? Well, we can look at some better stats, I would say. Like, for example, his PFF grade, which is still something that some people are very much against. I would say it's the best stat out there, but there is no perfect stat when it comes to quarterbacks. That's kind of how I view it. And you see that over the course of his career, he's had some years kind of into 80s and high 70s, including the past 3 years where he's been high 70s or 80, each year, the average over 80 in the 2019, 2020, and 2021 stretch. However, last year, 66.6, which was the worst grade he's had since his rookie year. All right, well, let's watch some tape then. What went wrong? Why did things go so off the rails for Derek Carr this year? Well, I thought he had just a couple of bad games, and, that might kind of seem like, okay, what are you saying? But I think that sometimes when you just have a bad game or 2 or 3 in a season, that can kind of skew the rest of the data and can kind of make it seem like you were actually worse than you are. And what I mean by that is something like this, where really sometimes a bad game is just making 2 or 3 mistakes. And when that happens, it can really kind of change the outlook on the whole season. And this game against the Chargers, week 1, he was he was bad in this one. This was one of the worst games I've seen him play, quite frankly. I'm not going to go through it all, but let's talk about this play as an example. Just going to be trying to flip it underneath to Hunter Renfrow. That's all he's trying to do here. Very simple play. However, when Carr takes the snap, you see that while on paper the play made sense, it's just not working. Renfrow isn't open, and this is something that I feel like 99 out of 100 times Carr notices and doesn't make this throw. It's just weird that in this game he kind of was making these throws left and right. As you see, he throws it there anyway, and it gets intercepted. Just a weird decision, a bad decision. I don't get why Carr decided to do that. And this game, that was very much what was happening. I think he just had a couple of bad games this year that kind of skewed the rest of it down. I thought in other games, he did look like normal Derek Carr. And like even something like this, I think it's fair to put some of the blame on the coaching staff. I'm not necessarily saying that I think Josh McDaniels is bad, because he's not bad. He clearly has a great history of success in New England. And even if you want to say, oh yeah, sure, but that was with Tom Brady. Well, no, it wasn't. He had a history of success with Mac Jones as well. So he does have a history of things going well, but perhaps it just wasn't a great fit with Carr. Like something like this, just going to be a quick screen pass to Devontae Adams. However, you're going to see a New England player jump the route. Carr doesn't notice it, and it ends up resulting in a pick 6. So, okay, pick 6s aren't very good. Great defensive play by New England. They kind of sniffed that out. And hey, maybe they just know what Josh McDaniels is about to do, right? But that's clearly not a play that's a bad Derek Carr play, but still, it's a pick 6 on his resume, and now it makes him look worse. And it's not a great play from Derek Carr either, obviously, but I just don't know how much blame we put on him. Clearly, there's some amount of blame we put on him, but how much? And I thought that to me, he still showed that he can be that Derek Carr guy, where something like this, it's going to be a zone coverage play. You have a receiver who's going to try to get into a gap in coverage. Pretty simple play. It's simply one of those, hey, if you can get an opening, make the throw. If you can't, don't make it. Definitely a game manager type play. Look at how when Carr takes the snap, you're going to see that right over the middle, It's debatable. I mean, you could argue that this is a dangerous throw if he makes it, and it's going to come down to timing and accuracy, and also getting the ball there in a hurry, because again, it's a bit farther away as well. This is a third down, and they have to get to the 43-yard line, so a bit dangerous. However, as you see, Carr is able to make this throw, and you saw stuff like this pretty consistently, where he was able to run the offense at times very well, and again, throughout the course of his career, he's done a very good job of doing this. So if you're someone who's deciding, do I want to sign Derek Carr? Well, first you have to decide, is he still Derek Carr, or is he someone who has lost a step? Because we do see this happen with quarterbacks. Typically, it doesn't happen, until you're a little older than Derek Carr is. Carr is just 31 years old, but we have seen quarterbacks, once they get into their 30s, kind of take a step back. Russell Wilson took a massive step back. He's just 34, right? This is something that can happen, but I still feel like I saw enough on tape that I'm not willing to jump to Derek Carr sucks just yet. Like, this play is a great example, I think, of, to me, I do feel like the Raiders are kind of selling low on Carr a little bit, because I watched the tape, and kind of one of the things I always look for is, okay, if a quarterback truly is washed up or not as good as they once were, maybe he just lost a step in his 30s, I don't know, something like that. Well, typically the way that works is because you don't physically have the tools you once did. To me, Carr feels like he still physically has the tools he once did. This play, it's going to be a throw to Mac Hollins trying to get into a gap in coverage. You see where it could end up working. Look at how when Carr takes the snap, he is going to look down the field, and there's a window, right? But this is tough. I mean, there's several defensive players over here who could make a play. This is one that if Carr decided not to make this throw, I would not blame him. But Carr is going to decide to make the throw. And again, look at this ball. Look at how he throws it beautifully to allow them to get a touchdown on that play. So does Derek Carr still have value? To me, it's a resounding yes, Derek Carr is still valuable. Now, again, there's several questions that come into play here, right? Because for Derek Carr, obviously he's a solid quarterback and a good quarterback. And I think that even last year, he was still, I don't know. I feel like typically he's like a, kind of barely in the top 10 quality quarterback. Last year, who was maybe like, I don't know, in the top 15, but like, not top 10 kind of caliber. That's sort of how I viewed him. I've always kind of put him in like the tier 2 quarterback tier, where it's like, okay, you're not obviously the Mahomeses or the Bradys, but you're kind of a tier below that. I think last year was the first year he wasn't tier 2 and was maybe tier 3 instead. However, I would expect him to get back into that tier 2 range. That's where I would expect him to be. And the question is, well, how valuable is that? And there's a real debate going on. Some people say, yeah, upgrade at the quarterback position. If you can get a good quarterback, get a good quarterback. If you can get a better quarterback, get a better quarterback. Whatever you can do to get the best quarterback. There's some people that say, listen, it's not always good business to pay $40 million for a tier 2 quarterback. Those guys don't win the Super Bowl. They just don't. They haven't. Maybe they will at some point, but it's very rare for a tier 2 quarterback who's getting paid to win a Super Bowl. Now, like, Garoppolo came pretty close, right? Who wasn't a tier 1 quarterback and was getting paid, but that's, kind of the exception. It doesn't seem to happen too frequently. So I do understand why you'd want to get rid of Derek Carr, but I also think that Derek Carr is a good player, and for the right contract, could win a Super Bowl, and in the right situation, could win a Super Bowl. Will he ever get into that situation? Who knows? But, if you're hoping your team signs Derek Carr, I certainly get it, because at the very least, he'd be a fun quarterback to watch, quarterback of your team. So, yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Derek Carr. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Derek Carr is still good? Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.